What are we doing? No one has explained it. What the hell is the objective? Well, I know what the Israeli objective is, and I'm afraid that's the objective that we're pursuing, the total destruction of Iran. I said that to you months ago. What do the Israelis want? The destruction of Iran. End of story. We have no interest in that, never have. So what are we doing? We're trying to destroy Iran. Why would some man stand up who is in charge in the United States and say, I'm going to destroy a civilization in one night? Sheer unadulterated lunacy. We saw a glimpse of rationality with Donald Trump when he was in Versailles in Paris. And what did he say? He said, we've got to get this war over with. This could send the world into a global depression. That's why I signed the MOU. Well done, Mr. President. Thank you. That was the most intelligent action he's taken since this nonsense began. What's happened then? What's changed? Have we decided, oh, the hell with the world, send the world into a global depression? Can we do that? Well, what are the three things we ought to be focused on? Number one is oil. I don't know what the price is right now. A few hours ago, it was $78 a barrel. What is it now? Is it above 78? I think it'll go to 120 and 150 in the next few weeks. What about this business of restoring or resupplying the Strategic Petroleum Reserve? Remember Vice President Vance? Well, you got to understand, this is just a pause. We just want to refill everybody's oil reserves and get everybody healthy, and then we'll go back to war. Well, what's happened there? We've thrown that out. What about this thing called inflation? Inflation in the United States is getting worse. It's getting worse across the Western world. Wars breed inflation. This is only going to make matters worse. And then finally, it's time to look at the United States bond market. Look at the interest rates for the 10-year bond. That's the bellwether. Everybody who's an expert in the area told me to say, Doug, if we hit 5%, it's financial Armageddon. We go under. And it's climbing. I think until we are in serious financial economic trouble, that's key. We're not going to make any sudden moves in any particular direction. And this is the history of all great powers. They tend to be more aggressive at the end than at any point in their history. And then all of a sudden it stops and they're gone. In other words, everything happens quickly. The Brits were there and then they were, bang, gone because they couldn't afford to stay. The Romans, 400 years in Britain, boom, they left. What happened? They couldn't afford to stay. I mean, we could just go down the list. All great powers go through this sort of thing. You write it off, you leave. Everything's mortgaged to vanity at the end because by the time you reach the end of the imperial period, you're broke. I mean, this is Paul Kennedy's book, The Decline of the Great Powers. Open it up and read it. We have been, he calls them frontiers of insecurity. We've created new frontiers of insecurity all over the world to justify 750 bases and hundreds of thousands of troops, airmen, Marines, sailors, all over the world. And all of a sudden, it's going to collapse like a bag. It'll just deflate because we can't afford to do it anymore. And Trump is playing against that adversary. The adversary is financial Armageddon. He's trying to outpace it. He's trying to keep it under control. He and his friends on Wall Street have done everything they could to manage the decline, to manage the problem of interest rates, to manage the oil problem, to manage the precious metals problem. All of these things. It's not going to work. It's going to fall apart. But it's not going to happen because somebody sat down and negotiated an end to anything. Whether or not Trump is still the president, I don't know. I can't answer that. That depends on what he does next. What he's doing right now, as you rightly pointed out, is very stupid. He's harming himself. He's harming our country. He's harming our interests. And he would think if he were such a brilliant businessman, you know when to cut your losses and pull out. That's what he should have done months ago. But he can't because he's not a free agent. He's under duress. And I think we understand that. I don't know what that duress is. I have not figured it out. But somebody's got something on him, and I think it's our friends that are in the Israeli lobby. Somebody said to me, well, Doug, we could lose the midterms. I said, okay. And he said that Trump can't afford that. I said, why not? He said, well, if he loses the midterms, then they'll try to impeach him. People in his own party hate him. I said, okay. Well, then you have to make a choice. And if you're Donald Trump, you say, who do I want on my side when they come for me to impeach me? The answer is, I want the Israel lobby. I want all those billionaires with all their money, their control of finance, control of the media. They're the ones, and control of the government, effectively. They're the ones I want on my side. Because if I don't have them, I'm done. I'm out. They're the reason I'm here to begin with. So if you tell him, well, you're going to lose the midterms. Well, I may lose the midterms, but if I continue with the war, I do what my backers and supporters want, my donors, as they say, what the lobby demands, they'll prevent me from going under. And that's not, I'm not saying that's right or wrong. That's not me. I'm not that kind of person. But he's been in this business for a long, long time. Nobody knows how to self-promote better than Donald Trump, and nobody knows the financial realities better than he does. So I think that's going to keep him and keep us fighting. Persia or Iran is going to retain control of the Gulf. End of discussion. Forget it. Why did they hit all these bases again in these last targets? They blasted the living daylights out of bases they've hit previously, only made the damage much worse. Why? What's the message? We're not coming back. It's over. Our role in this region is at an end. Our hegemony over the region is at an end. No, there will be no negotiation over tolls or anything else in connection with the entrance to the Persian Gulf. Forget it. It's done. And you got to go back to the big issue again. What compels us to quit? In other words, that's where we are. The Iranians take the position, we're going to hold what we've got. We're going to defend ourselves. We'll use every missile at our disposal. We are in a war to the last missile. So we'll use whatever we have until we don't have any, number one. Number two, we're in this war until the financial crisis at home is so bad we can't continue. That's how this thing ends. There will be no agreement. I don't think anybody's going to sign anything. I think all of a sudden people are going to say, look, this is a stinker. Eventually, you're going to have people from the Senate, from the House, from industry who crowd into the Oval Office and say, listen, Donald, it's time to end this. It's not going to work. Pull the plug on this. If you don't pull the plug on it, you're not going to last because we can't tolerate this. Now, when does that happen? I don't know, but I think it's coming between now and the end of the year. He'll be lucky to survive. I said before, if he stops the war after this last round before we began the new one, I said he can survive. All he has to do is sort of quietly withdraw, postpone any serious negotiations on big issues, get the strait open, demonstrate our sensitivity to the needs of our friends, allies around the world, forget the rest of it. Then he could stay in office. He's now backed out of that. He said, the hell with the world. The hell with everybody. I'm going to break Iran. I'm going to win this. That's where he is. It's back to this problem that he has with the parent-child relationship. With him, everyone's a child and he's in charge. Remember, I went over Roy Cohn's rules. So he says, well, I told them, they could, they have to do this or there's no deal. Oh, they called me last night. They're desperate for a deal. Yeah, okay. Smoke some more crack. They're not desperate for a deal. You're desperate for a deal, and everybody knows it. So what can he do? Can he stand up and be the man we know he's not? Take responsibility for this thing and end it? No. So he's just going to hammer away and hammer away and hammer away. And eventually the other factors that you and I have been discussing will descend. They'll all converge on him and compel us to leave. And I don't think he'll make it. I think he'll be booted from office. Israel's goal is to drag us into war with Iran and anybody else they don't like, because without us, they can't win. With us, they probably can't win, but that's another story. And the Europeans have decided, and I say Europeans, I'm not talking about the average European citizen who's completely disinterested. I'm talking about the globalist leaders, these governments that are seething with anger, hatred, and hostility for Russia, because Russia is a real national state with a national identity, a national culture, a foundation in Orthodox Christianity. Oh my God, these people are serious. They've got to go away. We've got to destroy them so they can become globalists, nihilists, atheists, Marxists. So they're happy now for the moment because they think they've talked Donald Trump into confrontation with Russia. And Donald Trump was foolish enough to state right after Rubio pointed out, oh, yes, we think this is a new phase. Striking deep into Russia is good. And then Donald Trump says, yes, I know it's escalatory, but I think that's the path to negotiation and peace. That's like saying, you know, I got a pain in my left hand, I'm cutting my wrist. And enough blood flows out, the pain will go away, and I'll pass out and die. It's stupid, but he's fallen for it. Now, why would he do that? Well, he probably says, you know, it's too much trouble to deal with Congress. That's what the Senate wants. That's what the Congress wants. They're all making money from this. I've made money. So what difference does it make? I mean, I've seen this thing before. FDR, when he left the Potsdam Conference, Admiral Leahy was his senior military advisor. And Admiral Leahy said to him, Mr. President, do you really think the Soviets are going to abide by any of these things? They're going to honor their obligations? Are they going to do the things they've promised? And he said, you know, I don't know, but I'm just too tired to fight anymore. He died, a month later. So this kind of thing goes on. These are the perils of democracy. Democracy sounds great in theory, but in practice, it's got real problems. And, you know, the great historian Macaulay said this will work very well in the United States until they run out of high quality people in office. Then everything will fall apart. I think we've run out for quite a while. So, you know, all you have to do is sit there and take just listen to the foreign minister of China, listen to the foreign minister of Russia, listen to these men speak. Look at how they behave. Are there any fits of emotion? Any snide remarks? Any off-color remarks? No. They're extremely professional. They're focused like lasers on the interests of their country and understanding the interests of other countries. And when they speak, everything they say reflects that mentality and understanding. They're called diplomats. We don't have any.